Good morning. There we go. Now the heater's turned off. Good morning. How do you like my shirt? I found this at the store for 50 cents. You guys, I'm so excited. I will have a thrift haul coming up soon. But for now, I'm here to do a little book haul this morning. I don't have a whole lot of time, so I wanted to do this really quick video. Hopefully it's a quick video. We'll see if I start yammering on. I do have a hot yoga class this morning, and we get a lot of morning traffic, so it's probably not the best idea to do this video, but who cares? Anyways, I got quite the book haul, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited to have all these new books to add to my collection. And I got some quirky ones, like this one. Angelica Frankenstein Makes Her Match by Sally Thorne, and she's the author who wrote The Hating Game, which I did not read. That was a book that I just knew was probably not going to be for me if you've heard me talking about like contemporary romances. But this one I could not pass up. So this book is about Angelica Frankenstein, who is Victor Frankenstein's sister, and she decides to make herself a boyfriend. And it just sounded too weird. I had to have it. I had to have it. And I'm ever slowly growing like my Frankenstein collection. I will have to show you guys sometime. And then we have Hunt, Gather, Parent. What ancient cultures can teach us about the lost art of raising happy, helpful little humans. I feel that like maybe I should have started getting into parenting books like years ago. Now that my kids are teenagers, I feel like I'm kind of past a lot of these sorts of things, which is kind of unfortunate, but that's okay. I'm only just like now kind of sort of utilizing getting into trying to find good parenting books. I kind of have like a secret project-ish thing ruminating up in my brain about kind of this concept of different types of parenting books, which ones are going to be good ones, which ones are really not worth your time or outdated. Then we have Woman in the Library by Solari Gentile, and this is supposed to be like a thriller. This one really captivated my attention because I just really like books that are in libraries. So this takes place in a library, and there's like this ornate reading room that people are using until one day there is a blood-curdling scream that breaks up the quietness of the library, and now they have to figure out the mystery of what happened and who did it. The Light Between Oceans by M.L. Stedman. I remember this popping up on an anticipated read like years ago for me. So I was really surprised to find this, and I was excited to find this. This is going to be an excellent book for the library's reading challenge I'm participating in, because this takes place on an island, and then there's just something about books that take place on an island and lighthouses that are just so intriguing to me. Those are like some of my buzzwords. This one was a surprising read. This one was really cool find. It's pretty short. It's called This Body's Not Big Enough for Both of Us by Edgar Cantero. And I didn't actually read the synopsis of this, but I kind of got the vibes that it's kind of like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of play on that. And Edgar Cantero, I actually have another one of his books called Meddling Kids, which is kind of like a retelling of Scooby-Doo. Hardbacks over here. I also found In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune, and this book sounds so freaking adorable. And this author, every time I see their covers, I don't really know a lot about what their books are about, but I see the covers and I'm like, that looks really intriguing. Total cover buy. Anyways, this takes place in a little house where a father, a mother, and let me just read this because I was getting it wrong. In a strange little home built into the branches of a grove of trees live three robots. Fatherly inventor android Giovanni Lawson, a pleasantly sadistic nurse machine, and a small vacuum desperate for love and attention. Victor Lawson, a human, also lives there, and I just can't get over it. Now, I don't know if these are meant to be like young adult, middle grade. By that premise alone, it could very well be like a children's book, but I think that like it's more likely it's like a middle grade. There's that. Scarlet Undercover. I actually saw this at my library bookstore for quite a while, and I keep picking it up and then like reading it and then putting it back down. But it just occurred to me that I could use this book for another like secret reading project. And basically, this follows a girl who is like a secret kind of sleuth and kind of going undercover. So she's kind of portrays that she is like meek or something, and then I guess she's maybe going to surprise us with having some like ninja skills. I don't really know that much about it, but oh, I think it's more gonna be like a middle grade. Like the text is quite large, but that does not matter. Now this book was an author by. This is called Call Down the Hawk. It is the first book in the Dreamer trilogy. I think that it utilizes, oh, that's right. So and this is by Maggie Stiefvater, and her other books, The Raven Boys and books 2 and 3 of that series have made it to my worst books of 2023. But I'm still curious about her writing style. And I also have another book called Shiver, which I had read years ago, and I just don't think that I had finished it years ago. And so I did get a physical copy, and I would like to try that one out again. But this book deals with a concept that she introduced in the Raven Boys series, where one of our characters can like go into dreams and then pull things out of dreams. So it's kind of based on that concept, and that was one of my favorite things out of that story because I thought it was so unique. So it did capture my attention, and I also just want to give this author like another try, but maybe just with a different series. So, all right, 7:30. We're doing well on time. My class isn't until 8:30. The very latest I need to be there is probably like 8:10. The classroom fills up pretty quick. So, all right. The next one is The Last Graduate by Naomi Novik. This is part of the education. What is it called? Oh, Deadly Education was the first book, and I think this is either second or third book. I'm not really sure, but I do know it's part of the sequel, and it's a series that I enjoyed. I do need to do a reread of that book, but either way, I have another book. The only thing that bothers me is that the first book I have is in paperback and this is hardback, but that's okay. When a book is that cheap, it just don't matter sometimes. Then we have The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna for whatever reason, and I don't know if it's like I'm mesmerized by like the cover art on some of her books, but Kristen Hanna is an author that has been on my radar that I just want to test out and read. It's definitely not my usual comfort zone kind of stories that she writes. This one in particular is a historical fiction set in World War II. But, and most of these, I don't remember how much exactly these were. Some of them were like $1. Some of them were like 50 cents. So they're all in the range of about $1-ish. When a book is this cheap, it's like, well, this is my perfect opportunity to kind of give it a try. If I don't like it, it's not like it broke the bank. This is one I could not believe that I found, and in such incredible condition, and that is A Light in the Flame by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is part of... it's kind of confusing. So she has the From Blood and Ash series, which I've only read the first 2 books of. There's like 2 more books in that series to read. And then this book is still in the same universe. There's another follow-up series, which is part of the same universe. And I want to say it's actually a prequel to that. But of those 3 books, this is the 3rd one. So either way, I just like I can't help myself. I grab them when I find them and I put them on my shelf. And then hopefully I find the other 2. It is going to be a long time before I even get to this book. Then I have By Blood We Live, and this is an anthology of vampire stories by various artists, by various authors, and some of the authors that they have on here are Kelly Armstrong, Neil Gaiman, Joe Hill, Stephen King, Anne Rice, Garth Nix, Tad Williams, and then there's a whole bunch more. I have this thing in my head. I don't know how soon I'll be able to get around to it, and it's gonna take like a lot of time, but vampire books are kind of on the reading list for this project, so it definitely feeds into that. This one, I did not realize it's actually the sequel to another book, but that's okay. And this is Her Dark Curiosity by Megan Shepherd. And the first book in this was The Madman's Daughter. But I have this one. All right, this is another one I'm incredibly excited to find and add to my collection, and that is The Golden Lily. This is technically the third book in the Bloodline series, which is the follow-up series to the Vampire Academy series, which I read all of Vampire Academy, and I've even read Bloodlines like years ago, but I'm definitely gonna have to do a reread of Bloodlines. Gwen, what in the hell are you doing? I'm definitely gonna have to do a reread of Bloodlines, but since I have all of the Vampire Academy series books in my collection, I did want to go ahead and collect this book series. But I never find them in the thrift stores. I rarely find them even at like my used bookstores, and it's so bizarre to me that they are not everywhere. So I was excited to find this. I still would have to find the Indigo Spell and then the one that comes after this. I think, is this the last book? It doesn't really matter. Okay, here's another one that I'm incredibly excited for. I have tried to read this on audiobook. No, it's not available on audiobook. I tried to check this out from the library and stuff, and it wasn't the right time. And I really wanted to read it to kind of go with other books in the dark academia sort of subgenre that I'm trying to make my way through, and that is Black Chalk by Crifter. That is Black Chalk by Christopher J. Yates. It was only ever meant to be a game played by 6 best friends in their first year at Oxford University, a game of consequences, silly forfeits, and childish dares. But then the game changed. The stakes grew higher and the dares more personal and more humiliating, finally evolving into a vicious struggle with unpredictable and tragic results. Now, 14 years later, the remaining players must meet again for the final round. Who knows better than your best friends what would break you? Psychological thriller partly inspired by the author's own time at Oxford University, Black Chalk is perfect for fans of high-tension, expert pacing of the secret history, and bellwether revivals. Ooh, I haven't heard of that book. I'm gonna have to check that one out too. Anyways, I cannot believe I'm an owner of this book now, so I'm really excited. I actually have an entire shelf right there. This whole shelf right there is all of like my dark academia books. And then we have The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde by Junot Diaz, and I've heard this author kind of making his rounds. This is also a Pulitzer Prize, which is kind of another thing I'm kind of keeping in the back of my mind when I pick up books that are Pulitzer Prize winners. And this is also, there's actually a few books in here. One of my prompts for my reading challenge this year is to read books that are award winners, so that would absolutely work. There's another one in here too. I think it was The Light Between Oceans, I believe, also got an award. So anyways, that's not like a huge thing. There's a lot of books that get some sort of award. Let me go ahead and read the back of this one too, because I cannot translate what it's supposed to be. Oscar is a sweet but disastrously, sorry, I need more coffee. Oscar is a sweet but disastrously overweight ghetto nerd, a New Jersey romantic who dreams of becoming the Dominican J.R.R. Tolkien, and most of all of finding love. But Oscar may never get what he wants. Blame the Fuku, a curse that has haunted Oscar's family for generations, following them on their epic journey from the Dominican Republic to the United States and back again. And it is supposed to really kind of be a commentary on the American experience from people like, immigrants and stuff. So, but yeah. Oh, another Pulitzer Prize. Cool. All right. All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. And this is an author. This is completely an author by, I don't really even know much about this book. I fell in love with his writing when I had a short story collection called The Shell Collector. Now, granted, I wasn't a huge fan of like the plots of some of the other stories in that collection, but The Shell Collector itself is like top 5 chef's kiss perfect short story, in my opinion. It was so, and his writing style is just amazing. So maybe I should figure out what this book is about. Takes place in Paris near the Museum of Natural History, where he works. When she is 12, the Nazi occupy Paris. Father and daughter flee to the walled citadel of Saint Malo, where Marie Laurie's reclusive great uncle lives in a tall house by the sea. With them, they carry what might be the museum's most valuable and dangerous jewel. In the mining town of Germany, an orphan grows up with his younger sister, enchanted by the crude radio they find that brings them news and stories from places that they have never seen or imagined. Warner becomes an expert at building and fixing these crucial new instruments and is enlisted to use the talent to track down the resistance. Marie Laure and Werner, from warring countries, both having lost many of the people that they loved, come together in St. Malo as Dora illustrates the ways against all odds people try to be good to one another. Ooh, and it says that it moves with the pace of a thriller. So, well, now I'm really, really excited. Okay, this one was so random and I just had to have it. It sounds so unique. So it takes place in 2023. Yeah, so it's like, I don't know, 400 plus some odd years into the future. And the jazz age is in full swing again. And apparently there is this whole string of murders happening, and you follow this detective while she's trying to figure out mystery of all these murders. But what she runs into are corrupt district attorneys and gangsters and all these things. Plus, it's set in a futuristic society, so I just thought that that was so interesting. It is quite thick. The text is quite small. So what I'm hoping is there's going to be a ton of world building as well as like this political intrigue and mystery. I really hope that it delivers. Tenenbrium, that's what it's called. This one is called Satan's Circus by Mike Dash. It is about murder, vice, police corruption, and New York's trial of the century. I have never heard about this true crime. It is a true crime. So as someone who really likes true crime and stuff like this one sounded just so grand scale, you know? Satan's Circus is an intriguing, tragic story of New York's most notorious and most misunderstood crime scandals. Mike Dash has provided a terrific, lively narrative of one of the city's most colorful eras. And what time period does this take? It looks like maybe early 1900s based on some of the pictures. Anyways, I guess we'll just have to see. Another kind of nonfiction to add. Ooh, this is one of his journalist pieces. Okay, I'm actually a lot more excited about this now. News of a Kidnapping by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I have now read 3 of his books, 2 that were like really short pieces, and also 100 Years of Solitude. And I'm kind of on the fence of how I enjoy those stories. Like, I liked 100 Years of Solitude like till halfway through, and then I really started kind of losing interest, and I found that story kind of challenging, but his writing is so interesting. I really did enjoy that when I first started reading that story, and some of the characters are just so ridiculous. Like the dirt eating girl, I like her a lot. But anyways, News of a Kidnapping. This is actually one of his journalistic pieces. This chronicles the 1990 kidnappings of 10 Colombian men and women, all journalists but one, by the Medellin drug boss Pablo Escobar. Carefully orchestrated abductions were Escobar's attempt to extort from the government its assurance that he and other narcotics traffickers would not be extradited to the United States if they were to surrender. I know most people know him for his fiction, but he was also a journalist as well, so I think this is definitely different. I actually ended up picking this one up with my friend in mind because she actually has like a little booth in one of those like little craft shops, and she sells Colombian stuff. She's married to a Colombian man, sells like Colombian things, and I know she had recently in her shop some books by this author, and I just happened to see it and I was like, oh, hey. So I would like to read it and then pass it on to her, and then she can, put it in her shop. And I also have 2 other books on my shelf by him. I should probably float those on over her to her as well. Okay, and the very last book that I have to share is Art History 101, The Essential Guide to Understand the Creative World. And I have actually done incredibly well for someone who doesn't read, because I don't read nonfiction. I actually have quite a bit of nonfiction here. Anyways, I do want to learn more about like art history. I want to learn about a lot of different things. I also have a Heads Up Sociology book, and I am really interested in these things, but I also get kind of bogged down in more of like narrative style, like informative books, because I can't help myself. I want to go into my fiction and I want to go into my fantasy books. So I don't feel like I always want to spend that much time. I want the information, quick bites, And so that's why I've been really loving these formats of books like this, because, they are in like small bite-sized pieces. There is really interesting pictures in here to kind of illustrate what they're talking about. There's mind maps like this. There's just a lot of visual aids and a lot of different formatting to the pages that I feel like is just a lot easier to consume. And, if you only have like a few minutes, you can read a little passage and then put it down. Okay, well, that is everything that I got in this last month in January. Not that I need any more books, but sometimes it's just like when the deal is too good, you can't pass it up. So, all right, well, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to run off to my yoga class, and I will see you soon. Bye.